Good morning, everyone. I am privileged to introduce the very important speaker for today, sa Pai Moya, who is much senior. Unfortunately, Pai cannot make it today because she is sick. She is sick. It's very untimely. Anyway, today our speaker got or completed both his undergraduate and Master of Arts in International Economics in Aoyama, Gakuin University, and thereafter got his PhD in Agricultural Economics from Michigan State University in 1999. Thereafter, he has landed and connected with various institutions. To name a few, he was connected with the World Bank in USA, the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies, GRIPS in Tokyo, Japan, the Foundation for Advanced Studies in International Development, FASID, also in Tokyo, Japan, and of course, our very own SSD ERI as IRS from 2006 to 2012. I remember, according to Dr. Sam Henty, Kei is one of the most silent IRS, and yet, one of the most productive one. Thank you. Thank you for that. Anyway, while in Erie, he has several projects. To name them, one is in China, where it is entitled The Role of Institution and Policies for Adoption of Water-Saving Technology in China. And he has several in the Philippines. One of them is in Bohol, the impact evaluation of Bohol irrigation, phase 2 in the Philippines, in the Bohol province in the Visayas. Also, he has this project, a joint project between ERI and NIA, the research on volumetric water pricing in the provinces of Cagayan and Isabela, both in Region 2. And of course, our very own, the historical data since 1974, which I think most of you are not yet in the world. Up to present. That is the so-called the Tubuan. When Dr. Hayami was still here, he said, that is my village. So that is Tubuan, located in municipality of Pila in the province of Laguna. And of course, he has been affiliated since in the study of the Loop survey, which started also much earlier in 1966 up to the recent data we have is in 2012. Okay. At present, Dr. Kajisa is affiliated with Aoyama University in Tokyo, Japan. Okay, we are taking this occasion while Kei is visiting ERI for a few days to give us a seminar from the Loop survey data. So he will be presenting data coming from the Loop survey way back in 1966 up to 2012. This presentation is one of the most significant chapters in the book from the Central Luzon Loop survey, Farm Household Level Data. The book is entitled Changes in Rice Farming in the Philippines, Insight from 5 Decades of a Household's Level Survey. This book is authored by Pai Moya, Kei Kajisa, Dr. Barker here, Sam Mohanty, Fegascon, and Mary Rose San Valentin. This morning, let us please welcome Dr. Kei Kajisa to give us a talk entitled Changes in Rice Farming, Profitability over the 5 Decades in Central Luzon, Philippines. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm getting bored. So Dr. Barker has to say something before. Okay. Sorry, sir. Sorry.
Pai is may sakit.
May sakit.
I felt that I should say something on behalf of Pai, because in many ways this is Pai's work. And we started back in 1966 thinking about a survey, and I see Cheeto is just, Cheeto, are you just walking in there? You can sit down. I went to, you see, I knew there'd been a survey done, a comprehensive survey of Central Luzon done by the College of Agriculture in the 1950s. So I went over to the Ag Econ department to find the records. And in the basement down there, Chito, the rats had gotten into them. So no more, there was no more thing. And I mention this because one of the great things about this is that we have stored the data since 1966. We, meaning Pi, mainly. And she had to persuade a half a dozen department heads that this was worth doing. And now we have the longest running survey of rice in the world. And it's not a big deal. It's only 100 farmers, but it tells you over time the kinds of changes we're having. And now Kei is going to tell you not only what he's been doing, but what he might even mention what that might mean for the future. So, Kei, now you're on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Randy. Yeah, thank you very much for giving. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to give a talk about this important and very rare data set. Well, Esther also mentioned about title and authors, and I took care of the profitability section of this book. So I would like to share findings of that section together with the related findings in the other chapters, mainly done by Pi and Randy. And there are so many figures. The data is so rich, and all figures and tables in this presentation came from the book draft. And also, you can find more figures and tables from them, which may be useful. Those figures are available, so please look forward to the book. Well, Loop survey, it is started in 1966 and 7 agriculture season. And this is, as Randy mentioned, this is the before the Green Revolution. It's very rare. We have many longitudinal data set, but many of them started data collection after the Green Revolution. This is very rare set, which we can see before and after the Green Revolution. So because we started this one started very early and collected data every 4 or 5 years. So we have 23 rounds of the survey, so many rounds. And the latest one is 2011, 2012 round. And the data, the Loop survey covers detailed records on the production system in both wet and dry season. Okay, this is the map. The field, the data collection, when they design the Loop survey, they select the farming plot at specific kilometer post along the loop of the national highway, like loop, and with a little bit of the appendix here. That's why it's called the Loop survey. And the selection of the plot is made on every kilometer post. It's almost like random selection of the plot. And then the Erie resurvey the same field over the 23 rounds. So it is actually the plot level panel data. Okay. But please note that owner might be different. They transfer the line, but still we keep the track on the same plot. Now let me show you the historical background of the loop area. First, technology. IRA is introduced in 1968, was it? Anyway, 7, yeah. So the first round of survey, 100% of the farmer used traditional varieties. And then MB1, first generation of modern variety introduced, the second and third and fourth, and recently hybrid is coming. From this figure, you can see, okay, farmer quickly adapt the modern varieties in that area. And there's no actually time lag between the release from the EV or field rice and adoption of the farmer. Therefore, quickly in MBT adapted in 80s, almost 95%. There's no time lag in adoption. And 3, 4, and right now most of the farmer use the post generation of modern varieties. And here there's it's a summary of the feature of each generation of the varieties. One important aspect I would like to mention related to this presentation is I think it's better to move here and microphone. Yeah. It's very difficult front. Oops. This one, MB2. MB2 is a short duration variety. Therefore, the labor demand is lower than the previous variety. And it has also pest and disease resistance. Okay. And these are top 5 varieties in each round of the survey. But this is too much detail, so you may look at this figure later at home. Well, background number 2, technologies. Continue. Irrigation is introduced in 1975 in that area. This is the system, Upper Pampanga River integrated irrigation system is constructed. Started the service in 1975. Yeah. Therefore, the dry season cultivation became possible from that year. And in 1990s, the low-leaf pump and shallow tubular becomes popular in that area, which substitute for the gravity irrigation system. Another technology is the direct seeding. It became popular in that area in 1980s. This technology is labor and water saving technology. And also because you do direct seeding on drier plot, so water, there's no flooding water and weed germinate easily. Therefore, demand for herbicide also increased by this technology. And another one is a small-scale mechanization, hand tractor and threshing machine. That one became popular since 1970s. This is obviously labor-saving technology. The big one, like this one, Tiladoria, was available in a plantation, the big estate in the Central Luzon. But the smaller one became popular in the 70s. This one even available in the 1920s, very old. But not, small farmer cannot access this big one. Okay, the next background institution. The biggest event in the area is the land reform. The Marcos came from that area, so the land reform, it's like his pet policy, and was started in Central Luzon area and implemented very strongly there. In 1963, Operation Land Leasehold Code was introduced. This one made a crop sharing tenant to the leasehold farmer. Government prohibited the share tenant, and instead of share tenant, farmer has to use the fixed rent at average of the 25 of the harvest. And then the second stage of the land reform started in 1972. This one, the code is Operation Land Transfer. And this one, the government purchased land from landowner at 10% of the land value and sell to the tenant's farmer for annual mortgage over 25 years. It's quite cheap. It's almost, so land is transferred to the tenant at a very cheap price. There, because of these two land reform policies, first look at the percentage of the shared tenant. It was 74 in 1963, but sharply declined over time. Initially, because of this, the first policy, leaseholder increased. Okay, then later, the second stage of land reform increased the landowner. Tenant became the landowner. Therefore, eventually, throughout the year, the land percentage of landowner started from about 10%. Then now, in 2011, it's 63% increase sharply. Okay. Sorry. And now, okay, the market. I think you are familiar with this figure. The real price of rice at international market. Except two, crisis years, the real price of rice has declining trend over the 50 years. The main reason is the increase of the production, increase of supply due to the Green Revolution. And market is well integrated, international and local. Therefore, the same trend you can observe in the Central Luzon. Declining trend, there's slight, small sharp increase in two crisis years. Okay, background number 5 is about non-agriculture sector development. To see that non-agriculture development, I would like to show the wage rate of the agricultural labor. If non-agriculture sector develop, then wage rate would increase. So this is a good indicator. Then here in 90s, and also in the dry season 90s, we observe increase of the wage rate of agricultural wage. The similar trend is observed also in Laguna area. So this is a good, this is a result of the non-agriculture sector developing in that period. But it doesn't continue, it didn't continue. Recently, the agriculture wage labor actually has declined in 2000, or even stagnant or declined in recent years. Probably similar in Laguna area. So this one indicates that, well, agricultural labor are still available in less favorable or poorer area. So they come into the favorable area, which makes agricultural wage labor, it pushes downward the wage rate. But, well, this is about the future. Right now, Philippine economy has been growing so quickly, and you can see many construction with the malls and highways. So probably in few years in the future, if the economic growth continue at the current rate, probably this trend, okay, again, we will see the increasing trend maybe in a few years. Okay, so population pyramid of the sector. From here, it's so obvious. In 1979, you can find very, beautiful pyramid-shaped population structure. The bottom of pyramid is the youngest, but it's getting narrower. The bottom part is getting narrower and narrower, and then upper part becomes a little bit thicker. And then 2011, it shows quite big aging event is occurring. Then, on average, the farm operator, the average age is 59 years old. Yeah, it's quite old. In Japan, it's 67. 65 or 7, yeah. The average age of the farm operators. But so still Japan is much higher, but Philippines is getting closer to Japan. Okay, now let's move to the main issue of this presentation: changes in profitability and partnership. I'll show you the conclusion first. Profitability. This is the result of the computation. Wet season and dry season. I show the blue line is the net return over paid out cost, which means that revenue minus paid out cost. And therefore, the family labor or the payment to return to the own capital is not deducted yet. Therefore, this portion we can say usually income, okay? Because return to the family labor and return to the own capital is included here. And the second one, the red line, is the net profit. So now the first one minus imputed family and own capital cost. Quite different between between dry and wet. Wet season, if you look at profit, last 2 seasons they don't earn little profit, almost nothing. Yeah. Although they still there still exist return to the family labor on own capital, but there's no profit anymore. On the other hand, dry season, there is some fluctuation, but still they earn substantial amount of profit or income in a dry season. So why? Let's look at more detail. The wet season, okay, red bar is total cost, and green and blue one is the gross revenue. You can observe that declining trend of the gross revenue in wet season, although total cost doesn't change so much. Okay. Why gross revenue decline in the wet season? It's because look at the yield. Okay, gross revenue is a yield times market price. Right? Price of rice. Yield is stagnant over the last decade here. But remember, the world market price is declining of the rice. That's why gross revenue has a declining trend in the wet season. Meanwhile, gross revenue of dry season has some fluctuation but increasing because yield has been increasing. So does yield increase effect cancel out price decline, the effect from the price reduction? Yeah. So I'll go back to this issue later, but why? So now the important research issue is why wet season yield has been stagnated for a long time. Maybe unfavorable weather condition, or need improvement in biotech or agronomy. From social science point of view, it's very difficult to answer this question. So, but natural scientists, I think this is an important issue for the natural scientists. Another interesting feature in previous slide is total cost has been relative to the total gross revenue. It's been stable. So now it has been stable regardless of, even though there has been dramatic change in technology, institute, and market, as we have seen in the historical background. So let's, why total cost has been stable? Let's look at that issue. Yeah, this is a decomposition of total cost. The blue one is land rent, capital cost, labor cost, and current cost, current input cost. And so total cost has been relatively stable, but its composition has been changing, reflecting changing technology and institution and market conditions. The most obvious thing is the reduction of land rent. Okay. It was like almost half of the cost, but now it's just a very, very small portion. One of the reasons of this reduction is land reform. Okay. And the main direct reason is that because government set the rent of the land at very, very low rate and transfer the land at very to the tenant at very cheap price. Okay. So the land rent declined. And another reason is the introduction of land saving technology like modern varieties and fertilizer. Therefore, the return from the that's why the value for the land declined. That's another reason. Okay. So labor, but on the other hand, here labor cost, this gray part of the bar is relatively stable. I'll come back to this issue later. Then the third feature is that current cost, this brown part, has been increased. It's not so easy to detect the change, but it's actually the current cost has been increasing. So because of this and this, the combination of the net effect overall more or less stable. The cost is stable. Okay. The biggest portion of the current input cost is the fertilizer cost. How does it change over time? Initially, let's look at the wet season. Initially, this is the real price of fertilizer. Initially, it increased. Then for 20 years, about 30 years, it has been declined and then increased. This increase reflects the commodity crisis of the commodity price. But anyway, it shows sort of increasing trend in the later years. Regardless of these, price changes, use of the fertilizer has kept increasing. Initially, price increased, but because of the introduction of MB, the demand for fertilizer increased more. Therefore, regardless of this increase, they increase fertilizer. And then, when price declined, then they increase further. And then once they reach close to the recommended level of the fertilizer, about 100 kg per hectare, 100 to 150 kg, then they become the use of amount of the fertilizer became relatively stable. Once they reach, even if the price of fertilizer increased, they remain at the level of the fertilizer application remained at almost the same level. Therefore, okay, here initially price increase the bottom part is the fertilizer. Price increase and application increase, therefore the cost share increase. Price increase, price decrease, and application increase, so it cancel out, so the expenditure more or less stable in this period. And price increase, and they remain, the amount of application remains same, so just expenditure increase this period. That's the trend of the fertilizer expenditure. From this figure also, you will observe expenditure for seed has been getting, a substantial part of the current cost input. This one because in the past, farmers used a recycled seed from their own field. But these days, farmers purchase certified seed from the market. That's why the cost proportion of the seed cost increase. Well, this is also an interesting figure. This is nitrogen paddy price ratio, which I think Randy likes this figure very much. The same trend in the real price increased first, but decreased and sharply increased later. Now labor. Wage rate, this is the same figure I showed in a non-agriculture sector development. More or less stable until 90s, then increase in the 90s and decline in 2000. And this is the labor use. Initially it increased. The main reason is the introduction of labor using technology, modern varieties. Particularly modern variety, the demand for weeding increased. Therefore, mandates for the labor use measured by mandates increased. Then later, wage increased in 90s. Remember then small mechanization was started in 80s, and also introduction of MB, second generation modern variety, which is shorter duration, and also yes, shorter duration. So demand for labor declined, and direct seeding, introduction of direct seeding also reduced the demand for labor. So in this,
when you say direct seeding, is it direct seeding, line seeding, or just broadcasting?
in Central, I think broadcasting. Yeah, yeah. Broadcasting on wet or dry? I think that's on dry seeded. Okay. Yeah. So here,
In both seasons, wet season and dry season? Both.
dry season only. Wet season is too wet.
Only trans-
Yeah. So yeah. So wet season, there's flooding water on the field, so seed cannot germinate by dry direct seed. So price increase and introduction of the labor saving technology, the labor use declined this period. But in 2000, labor use increased probably because substitution effect due to the decline of agriculture wage. The similar trend is observed, up, down, and up in dry season too. Well, this is a summary of what I said. So, facing the changes in technology, institution, and market price, farmers actually, although the total costs are relatively stable, but farmers are actively changing the combination of input to achieve optimal combination. Then that's why the total cost did not change dramatically. Okay, now the factor share. I use this factor share figure to discuss distribution of the return from the farming. The biggest, okay, the first, look at the share to the labor, this brown bar. This doesn't change dramatically. It's very constant. The share is it's about actually 30%. Okay. The share of the labor cost is relatively stable over time. And remember, okay, I didn't mention that here. Another feature in the labor market, the share of hired labor has been increasing, okay, and also in the dry season, because of the aging of the farmer, and also the wage rate of the family of the farmer increase. They are more educated than the landless farmer, so they go to the non-agricultural sector, and to replace that family labor, they hire agricultural labor from landless household. So the share is relatively stable, but remember substitution of hired labor for family labor. Therefore, return to the hired labor has been increasing. And usually in Central Luzon and also other parts of the Philippines, hired labor comes from poorer household, usually landless. So when we talk about the gain from the Green Revolution, we may say that the Green Revolution has generated more return to the poorer household by increasing the demand for hired labor. That's one thing. And another feature you can observe from this table is okay, here the top part is operator's surplus, and the blue one is the return to land. In wet season, initially it took more than 50, almost 60% return to operator and land. This means that owner cultivator get about 60% of the return. And it has been getting smaller and smaller, and wet season the operator surplus is almost little. Meanwhile, dry season, there's still some amount of some return to the operators and to the land. In early period, remember, because of the land reform, tenant became the owner. So those land reform beneficiaries